Today on BCW, we're upgrading the interior on our Falcon. As you guys have already seen, we've updated the front end of the car to the FGX series, which is the last generation of this Falcon platform. Anyone that's familiar with the FGX will notice that we still have the FG interior. If you're not familiar with it, we are going to show you guys today how to do the full interior upgrade. The only thing we won't be changing today is the ICC, which is the stereo aircon module. We're currently working on a wiring harness to get that updated as well for the later one, but until then we're going to do all the interior. So we're going to change all the leather seat coverings. We're also going to change the gear knob and the gear knob shift boot. We're going to change the handbrake boot, and we're also going to put an XR steering wheel back onto this because it currently has the larger non-XR steering wheel on it. So we're going to rip the seats out and then we're going to tear them down, and then we're going to show you guys how to fit everything up. 50 cents, car's paying for itself. One thing to be mindful of when you're removing seats from most late model vehicles is there is going to be some sort of wiring onto the seat. The Falcons particularly run airbag and seatbelt monitoring switches. They're both to be unplugged from the base of the seat. But the other thing you need to do is before you do any sort of airbag or wiring, anything like that, you need to drop off the negative post on the battery. We also leave it to sit for quite a while with either the lights on, or you can also press the brake pedal. That drains any capacitors in the airbag system. Then there's no chance of deploying an airbag. I've never seen or heard of it personally, but there are cases on the internet of airbags deploying when trying to remove them. So it's definitely something to be mindful of, and we do recommend draining the system in any way possible. Got the passenger seat out of the Falcon. We're about to tear it down. Firstly, you've got to pull the headrest out. Then we'll strip all the trims off, so all the knobs, the side trim, and then we'll remove the covers. $2. More money. It doesn't appear to be a passenger side airbag, but there is more money. We've got the backrest of the passenger seat pretty much stripped. I'm about to stand it up and roll the cover off. So we'll do that now, and then we'll keep stripping the base. Money. How much butt sweat do you reckon that's absorbed? That's why we're replacing the driver's foam, so there's no butt sweat. The seat covers are supplied inside out from Ford. It's generally a lot easier to fit these, especially the Velcro sections, when the covers are inside out. Handy tip is to also spray the foam and the seat trim with some silicone spray. We just got this from our local parts store, so give it a quick hit all over. It won't cause any damage or anything like that. So we'll give it a quick spray and then start throwing this cover on. We've got the first part of our new FGX trim on. It's gone straight on with no dramas, which we didn't think we would have, being that it is a factory trim. To my knowledge, there's nothing aftermarket available that's equivalent. So we're just going to jump onto the backrest, and then we'll reassemble this seat and onto the headrest, which I think might be a little bit of a mission. Smells like mothballs. This flap here is actually for the passenger side seat airbag, which we don't have. So I'm actually just going to cut this whole flap off just with a razor blade. Obviously, if you're doing a side airbag model, you will need to unzip this and then put it around the airbag, and then obviously re-zip it up like so. Being that these are non-airbag seats, we can just cut that out. If we don't cut that out, it may bunch up under the trim and cause a high spot. So it would make it a lot neater if we just remove it now and rather than trying to relocate it later on. This was actually my first job, putting seats together at the local trimmers. Not even kidding. The hairnet is critical. It's like stuffing a marshmallow in a money box. One headrest. The bane of my existence. Driver seat has some electrical functions on it as opposed to the passenger seat. So this one has rear, or the back half of the seat is electric, so tilt, and also the base is height adjustable. So there'll be a few more things we'll have to undo in this seat. So we'll keep chipping away. Nailed it. We didn't replace the foam on the passenger seat because it was actually in pretty good condition. The driver's seat, however, is a different story. As you can see here, the foam's really, really soft. It's almost broken down, and we've even got some pretty big separation in the base as well. So we've got a brand new genuine Ford base to go in it, and we're also replacing the side trim as that's also broken as well. We'll continue chucking these suckers together. Oh, look at that, amazing. Stupid thing is, it looks like it screws on. There's a screw hole in it. So I've obviously recycled this off another shifter or something else. I'm just gonna wing it and see if I can just put it on. And yes you can, ladies and gentlemen. We now have a new shifter boot and shifter assembly. So that's the old one. Pretty manky. We've also scored ourselves a nice little chrome piece here as opposed to the silver one we had before. Not quite sure why it's different, but thanks Ford. And this boot's pretty badly worn out, so hopefully this one lasts a while. But now onto the handbrake boot. You know what the scariest thing is? I don't think I've ever eaten Macca's in this car. Made really good progress with the interior. We've changed the dash beers, changed the handbrake boot. We've also changed the gear shifter. Our seats are ready to go in. So the last thing we're going to change before we put the seats back in is the steering wheel. This airbag's actually retained by a clip mechanism. You can release it pretty easily just via the bottom. There's a little access hole just in the bottom of the wheel. Just need to push a retaining clip. I've already popped it, and you can see here, these are the retaining wires. So if you push it from the base, pushing that actually releases all the locks at the same time. And then it's really easy just to pull the airbag out. And then obviously you've just got to disconnect all your wiring and get it out of the way. Then it's just a Torx bit to remove the steering wheel. Make sure you don't remove the fastener all the way off, be it a nut or a bolt. So if you pull that out all the way and then try and pull the steering wheel off, you can break your nose. I've actually seen it happen firsthand. A guy, when I was working at Subaru, pulled the steering wheel off and broke his nose. So we always leave the nut or the bolt in half the amount of threads, sort of 10 turns or so. So when you do release it, all the pressure doesn't come and smack you in the face and break your nose, because it does happen. Goes without saying, but obviously when you're going to change your steering wheel, make sure your wheels are straight. Fords particularly, they actually run a square, so you've only got 4 ways to put the wheel on, so it's quite simple to put the steering wheel on this. However, a lot of Japanese cars use a pretty fine spline, so having it one spline out will probably mean your steering wheel is 20 or 30 degrees out. So it may take a couple of goes, but it's a lot easier than going and getting a wheel alignment, and then it also puts out your indicator lock-offs and all sorts of stuff. So if you take a bit of time to change your steering wheel and or your boss kit, it'll make for a lot easier things down the road. Another little tip when you're putting your seats in, make sure you do all your bolts finger tight first before you tighten any of them up. This particular seat's actually sitting crooked at the moment, so if you use the rails you can square it up pretty easily. So now it's sitting straight. If you tighten these front rails up first, you wouldn't be able to do that. So remember just to put all your bolts in before you tighten anything up, and then you won't have any dramas squaring up the seat. After putting 3 or 4 hours into the Falcon's interior, it's come up amazingly well. Sitting in it, it's actually like a new car. I've already noticed sitting in the driver's seat with that new base foam, it actually feels higher, so the driving position has changed a little bit. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that yet, but that's all for today. We'll see you guys next time.